Alright, so this is my demonstration again, understanding static routes. So I'm just going to show you all this, for you all have actually did this in a couple of classes behind. And I want to ask you a question here basically. If we are on the 16 network, what interface do we go out to get to the 48 network or to the 64 network? Right? And we will, if we are on the 16 network, which is the server, and we want to get to the 48 network, then we will have to set up a static route that passes through our next hop, which is the 34 net, which is router 1, which is interface 34. How do we do this? So we go to router 0, right? I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to go to conf t, and if I am on the 16 network, and first and foremost, before I do that, I'm going to do a show IP route, right? And we can see that we have a directly connected network to the 16 network, right? And the 32 network that is connected to serial interface 20. So we could successfully ping from server to 1.33, but we would not be able to ping 1.34, right? So if I was to go to my command prompt, I could ping on my router interface, which is my default gateway. I'll be able to successfully ping my default gateway. I'll also be able to successfully ping, since they're directly connected, my serial interface, which is .33, but I would not be able to ping .34 because I don't have in my routing table a directly connected route. Right? So in order for me to have a connected route to get outside of my network, I'll have to set up a static route to get out there. And how do I do this? I'm going to go to IP route, and I want to get to the 48 network. So my IP route will be 192.168.1.48. I want to get to the 48 network on a net mask of 255.255.255.240 via 192, which is my next hop, .168, right, .1.34, and press enter. So what I'm basically saying is that if I'm on the 16 network, I will have to use this as my next hop to get to my 48 network. And if I exit and I go to my command show IP route, they will show that a static route has been set up to get to the 48 network via 34. So I will be able to successfully ping my server to this interface here, but I would not be able to ping successfully to this PC, because in order for me to ping successfully to this PC, then I would have to set up a route from the 48 network to go back to the 16 network to make sure that the TCP handshake, all the requirements are satisfied. Right? So again, if I go to my command prompt and I want to ping to the 34, I'm going to get to the 34 network successfully. Well, 34 interface. Right? I'm going to successfully get to the 34 interface. And as you can see, I'm not successful there in this case because why? There is no static route that heading back to my network. So I'm going to set up a gateway of last resort in router 1 in this case. Right, so on router 1, because in router 0, I have my static route set up via 34. So in router 1, I would have to do the same. Right? But here what I'm going to do different in router 1. I'm going to go to enable, right? And if I want to get conf t to the 16 network, dot 16 on a net mask, right? I will have to go out this interface. This interface here will be my next hop, which is 33. Right? Dot 1 dot 33. Right? So if I was to show an IP route, you would see that I have access now to the 16, a static route to the 16 network via 33. So I should be able now to successfully ping from server 0 to PC 1. Let's see if that is possible. And PC 0 is what? 40. What is the IP address for PC 0? That would be 450. Alright? So if I ping the 34, I should get you to the 34 network, which is this interface because of the TCP IP handshake, and I'll also be able to ping to 50. Right? So I was successfully able to ping to 50. Now, next thing what I could have done in router 1, right? And before I do that, even though that PC server could ping to PC 0, I still wouldn't be able to ping to PC 1. Because PC 1 in its routing table do not have an entry to get to the 64 network. Right? So what I could have done in router 1 is to set a gateway of last resort. So go to conf t, and I could have gone to IP address, and whatever network, send it out with whatever subnet mask, send it out to the interface, either the serial interface 2/0, or I could type his IP address. So I will type the serial interface first. And that was incorrect command. I'm supposed to put IP route. Right? And if I was to show IP route, you'll see that a gateway of last resort was set up in such a way, but I'm going to correct this now. I'm going back to conf t, and instead of putting serial interface, I will put the interface that I wanted to go out to, dot 33, right, which is this interface here. Okay, right, cool. So I have set up a gateway of last resort, so you could go back out to configure PC 1 going back out. However, I still have to go into router 1, router 0, and set up a static route that goes to the 64 network. So I'll go to conf t, and I'll set up an IP route to the 64 network via the subnet mask. Right? Via this interface here, which is 192.168.1.34. Right? And if I was to show an IP route, I'll see that entry is in my, okay, in my routing table. And I could also set up a default route if I want, or a gateway of last resort, and I could do that one time here. right? Right, and I can set a gateway of last resort, whatever network and whatever net mask, let it go out 192.168.1.34, right? If I do a show IP route again, the gateway of last resort should be set, alright? Whatever network. Go out that interface. Now copy, run start, save my configuration file, and I should successfully able to ping from server 0 to PC 0 as well as from server 0 to PC 1. PC 1 is what? 66. Right? So successfully be able to ping it because we have set up a default gateway and a gateway of last result, right? And so on. If you also use our WYSIWYG tool, you can see that it's successful. And it was successful.